I've repaired hundreds of game consoles in the last 5 years that I've had this YouTube channel, knowing nothing at the start to becoming somewhat competent, depending on who you ask. I am trying something different today. Something people have been asking me to try for years. It cost me £123.94, but I'm not looking to make a profit on this one. I've got my test rig, I've got my multimeter, I think somewhat I've got my brain, and I'm going to give this the best try that I possibly can. Let's see how far my console repair skills can get me in the world of computer graphics cards. Wish me luck. The graphics card in question is the lovely, stunning NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3070. I say stunning, that is just the box. The eBay listing that I purchased it from says it completely dead, no power at all when installed. Important notes, what I'm reading here is no repair attempts have been made. This makes me extremely happy. The card shows no signs of life or output when connected. It is completely non-functional. I will also confirm my expectations here are not high in the slightest, but are at least some of my skills transferable. Yes, I also believe this requires new gloves. For those familiar with the channel, I know you're going to be super shocked. Let's go ahead and open up this box. Wow. This is also indeed the Founders Edition as far as I'm aware, and actually it smells quite nice. I can see I've got some marks over here on what I can assume is obviously part heatsink, and I don't know if that's been brushed up against something inside a computer case, which has then caused the paint to come off of it. The fans spin freely, and that's about as much as I know. The case on the backside is in relatively good condition. I don't see any sort of warranty sticker, which would lead me to believe it's not been attempted repaired before. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to confirm that. I don't know if maybe when I go to open it up, there's something inside that will tell me that information. I can also actually see on the fins below one of the fans, we'll call this fan 1, it looks like the paint has been scratched down there as well. So I don't know necessarily how that's happened. Is it due to heat perhaps? I've got no idea. The only knowledge that I seem to have accumulated with the graphics cards is by watching other YouTube channels, which is exactly how I've learned to do all of my console repair stuff. I think down here we've got a 12 volt and a 3.3 volt rail, and because this is no power, I don't really want to just go ahead and plug it in. My brain tells me the smarter thing to do would be to take it apart and measure those rails to see if we have a short perhaps on one of them first before I go ahead and test it. The only risk with that is that potentially this card could work and I go ahead and plug it in after I've taken it apart and it just shows me an image. But really, what are the chances of that happening? You're not going to want to see me take this apart and watch me struggle. If you're into that sort of stuff, then enjoy this fast-forwarded version, I guess. At first, everything seemed rather intuitive and fairly easy to take apart. Then I had to actually try and get the motherboard out. Well, that didn't take me too long. Straight to YouTube. Are you somebody who needs custom parts quick time? PCBWay makes it ridiculously easy with their instant quote tool. Just upload your Gerber files for the PCB and you are ready to go. The customization on this website is unmatched. They don't just do PCBs either. They offer CNC machining, 3D printing, sheet metal fabrication, and even injection molding. It's all there for the taking. And if you're personally stuck for ideas on what to make or just love a good browse, check out their shared projects and online shop, packed with community builds and parts ready to order. Hit the link in the description and give it a try. Okay, we're back. Funny, really. I wouldn't have even had this career if it wasn't for learning on YouTube. Wow, that is super dusty, by the way. Ridiculously dusty. I think the first things first is a bit of a visual inspection. I mean, the thermal paste is as dry as a rock, but I also have some dark coloration in the dust down here. Does that perhaps imply that a component has gone boom? Some of the pads as well are disgustingly dusty. So I'll put this over to the side for the time being because I need to focus on the actual board itself. Now I'm going to come in with my toothbrush here and just give everything a clean. Now I've made a mental note of where we've got the thicker, darker dust, which is over here on this rail. But in order to see things, it does need a little clean. Now, I think there's something on here called a PAX rail. I don't know if that's CPU related. I have no idea. But it sounds like it's an important rail from when I hear people talking about it. Okay, and just a nice little bit of can of air, which has seemingly moved the dust all around my room. One of the most underrated skills that I think is taught when it comes to any sort of electronic repair is the power of visual inspection with your eyes. Before we go underneath the microscope, that's exactly what I'm doing now. I'm just using my eyes to see if I can see any potential explosions from components. I think down here is the 12 volts, like the big boy. We have all of those. I don't know if they're called DRM MOSFETs. Again, I'm just chucking around terminology that I've personally heard others use. Assuming this is where our 12 volts comes in from the power supply. The actual connector itself looks okay in there, if you ask me. And of course, I've not looked at this side of the board yet, even though it was the side that was facing up when I took the card apart. There's nothing that seems to be jumping out. And if we have a look at the teeth along the card, I don't know if the teeth is the correct terminology, but you know what? It sounds pretty cool. There doesn't seem to be any chips or missing pins teeth from what I can tell. In which case, it's time to get my good old friend out, the microscope. And I'll use this opportunity to pair Batman with Robin. This right here in the top right hand corner of your screen is my multimeter. This is going to be an incredibly powerful tool for me. I hope anyway. I've also switched over to the W lens, which gives me a bigger field of view while still being relatively close to the board. This is where we had the darker, thicker dust right down this rail, specifically around these components. Now, I don't know if necessarily they're looking a tad darker right there, maybe, but again, a cause for concern using my eyeballs. So in my opinion, if 12 volts is coming through here, which is where we have that big connector, then I'm assuming, what's that? This must be a fuse, right? Is this a fuse? No, there's nothing on the board there. Okay, so that's not a fuse. I believe this is like the current sense resistor, which is terminology again that I've heard somewhere else. My multimeter is in continuity mode, which is a mode that beeps when I have a complete circuit. Now I'm going to check from one side of this to the other. Okay, I have a continuous path. Now, if I ground my black probe, is it a short? No, it's not. So how many ohms am I reading? Now, again, bear in mind I'm in continuity mode. So that's open line, which means probably anywhere over the vicinity of 1,000 ohms. If I switch to diode mode, for example, and go back over that, I should get some sort of reading. I don't know what. Minus. Oh, hang about. It's changing. There we go, 0.432. Okay, so, and if I measure the other side, I'm assuming because we had a continuous path, we get the same reading. There we go, 0.433. Joey from the future here. I thought it would be best to go to ChatGPT and see exactly what a current sense resistor does. So a current sense resistor, often called a shunt resistor on an SMD circuit, such as a graphics card motherboard, serves the primary role of measuring current flow through a specific path in the circuit. I then asked ChatGPT to break it down into simple terms. So it measures the current by detecting voltage drops across a very low resistance. It's usually located on current paths, so for example near VRMs or GPU power rails on graphics cards motherboards. It's used for real-time current monitoring, power regulation, overcurrent protection. It's usually very low resistance. We need to bear this in mind. Then I asked about VRMs because it kept talking about VRM. So what is a VRM? A voltage regulator module. And what a VRM does is converts higher input voltage, for example 12 volts, to a stable lower voltage 1.2 volts required by components like CPUs and GPUs. A VRM is not a component from what I've read. It's more so a car engine. Think of it like that. That's what ChatGPT done for me. It's not one part, but it's a system made up of pistons, fuel injectors, crankshafts, etc. So VRM is like an engine that supplies clean, stable voltage to a GPU, CPU using several SMD parts. And those parts can be a controller IC, MOSFETs, inductors, capacitors, etc., etc. That's pretty much bang on. So that would, to me, confirm that our 12 is okay. Ooh, that looks like another current sense resistor right here. And why does this one look darker? And can you see that the writing, well, I'd say the writing's more visible, but actually it just looks like we have a darker pattern here. So I'm going to go back into continuity mode and put my beeper on. Beep, 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 beep. Do we get a path through? We do. But do we have a short perhaps? Ah, okay. Well, it had me there because it did beep and then it stopped beeping. So we don't have a short on here either. And I'm going to, again, just guess that these kind of act as fuses, right? These two. I don't know if potentially we have two 12-volt rails, or if one of them's a 12, one of them's a 5, or one of them's a 12, one of them's a 3.3. I have no idea. But it looks like we're pretty safe in terms of a short being on the 12-volt line, I think. So with that being said, now I'm pretty much hopeless. I have no idea what to do next. Nothing. I guess maybe continue with some visual inspection with the microscope. Oh, what do we have here? I don't know how I've seen that, but that resistor is not on properly. There is no way on this earth that this little resistor being off the rail like it is has caused our issue? Is there? And if that is the case, am I missing any other components around this area that I'm just not seeing right now? My understanding is that unfortunately these graphics cards are very thick boards, meaning that it's going to take a lot of heat to put this little component back. And what I'm going to do first before I attempt that is go into resistance mode and check the value of this resistor. Because if I lose this and I haven't measured, I'll call myself an idiot. 100k. So I've got plenty of 100k resistors. Like I said, I don't know if we're missing any components here. It does look like, let me switch over my lens. It does look like that is also a ripped pad just down here. Saying that, I'm now looking at these pads thinking, are they meant to have components on? Now, there's a lot of areas on a PCB, a printed circuit board, on lots of that kind of looks a bit funny as well. But look, I mean, even this looks like it potentially is missing something, you know? It looks like a lot of this board is missing components, but I just don't know. What I was saying, sorry, is that a lot of printed circuit boards have, for example, solder connections on the board, but no components generated. Don't ask me why they do this. I have no idea. But it's pretty clear to see that this little resistor was meant to be there. I'm pretty sure there is meant to be a component here. Potentially here, 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 and here. And I'm saying that based off experience. And here, whoa, I don't know about here and here, to be honest. But I'm kind of going off experience. Potentially here looks like some rip pads. And my experience being what looks like a factory solder blob to what doesn't. I mean, these look ripped to me. I'm going to put this resistor back. And then I'm going to try and search high and low for a board that will give me the information that I need for these components. Chances are, if this board has all of those components missing, that's most probably going to be our issue, is where I'm going to start with this. I didn't just record what I was waffling about because I'm an absolute A-grade moron. However, I removed the component, I heat the board up with 480 degrees Celsius and just placed some leaded solder on the pads. Then I just soldered the resistor back onto those pads. And as we can see, it looks like it is pretty flush next to that big cap. Now I'll take my multimeter, which has appeared magically in the top right again, and I'm just going to measure to make sure it states 100k. Pretty much, yes, because the board is very warm, don't forget as well, because I've literally just worked on it. So it's missing about 8k at the moment, but that is all right. Also, it's now properly back in circuit, so we might get a little bit of a different reading. But I doubt that. It looks like I may have resolved issue number 1. But the problem being, I don't know how many issues I'm going to encounter on this board. It could be just that, and we're all good. Or it could be that we're just getting started with this, and I've got 1,000 more things that I need to fix. I really hope I can fix my first ever graphics card on the first video. That would be amazing. I think my next logical step here is to just look and see if I can find an image of this board. That way I can tell if I'm missing any of these other components or whether it's more of a distraction than anything. I don't even know what this component is here, by the way. Nope, even from different angles. I mean, it kind of looks like a resistor that's got some funky green stuff on top of it. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pause this frame whilst I'm editing so you can see that resistor that I'm talking about. Look at the pads in the center of your screen right now, and can you see there's like a line next to them? I feel like there is definitely meant to be components on those pads due to the color of them, whereas if I look at the pads above this component, they are solid mounted silver. Even up here, look, I'm concerned that we are missing stuff, and there are just scratch marks over this board. Let me have a look and see if I can find another board online to compare. I have an update. It's taken me a while to find. Shout out to Northwest Repairs Discord, by the way, because without that I wouldn't have been able to find these specific images. I'll leave a link down below in the description to it. Over on the left side of your screen right here is a working 3070. Not necessarily working, but all the components. On the right side is mine. Now forgive my paint skills in advance. Around this area specifically on my card is where we are missing a bunch of components. Starting with this little guy. Now I don't know what that is, some sort of MOSFET, I'm unsure. This is the component down here that I managed to save. And I'm now going to count how many I'm missing just from this picture alone. 5 components. As from what I can tell, is only 5. 5 components seems to be the total. However, if we look at the state of all of these pads, I don't have another picture which shows just to the left of this coil. And I'd bet a lot of money that we're also missing on top of the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, maybe 11 components in total. Oh, I've also just seen, as I'm quite literally talking, 12, 13 underneath This memory IC, I think is RAM. So potentially a missing, and look at all of these. I don't know what's happened here. These scratch marks. A potential missing 13 components. As well as I don't know what's going on with this component here. I can't see it on the image. If I flip the board over to the exact back side of the area I'm talking about, these pads all seem to look on the face of it a-okay. They kind of look factory to me, so I don't believe we're dealing with an issue on both sides of the board. As you can probably tell, I now have quite a big predicament. Option A is to scour the internet for a schematic and manually try and replace every single little component. That is if I'm able to obtain said components. I might not be able to buy some of them. Option B, which sounds a lot more appealing to me, would be to buy another faulty 3070 Founders Edition specifically, I guess. Maybe one that has a dead core or something really badly wrong with it that I can then salvage those components and move over to my board. That obviously doesn't guarantee us a fix because I don't know if there's any more faults. But going back to what I said earlier, I feel like this is almost still very much a part one of that situation. Am I going to be able to find another faulty 3070 that is reasonably priced? As you can tell, I'm not really sure what to do. Hello. It's been about a week since I recorded that video. I want to say a huge thank you to Gozzy in the Discord. Gozzy supplied me with pretty much everything I needed component-wise for this board in particular. I was looking for such a long time for a replacement GPU and I couldn't find one that was going to be a reasonable price. I reached out to Gozzy because I knew that he was looking and working on graphics cards and he was able to provide me with every single value of every single component, including the dual transistor that has the 6 legs. What you're seeing on your screen right now is a live stream of me putting all of those components onto the board. In total, it cost me around about £3 for the dual transistor, and that was a pack of 100 of them, and every other component was either a resistor or a capacitor. I did have to take a capacitor from a donor board, a switch to be precise, and the reason being was because it was a 4.7 microfarad capacitor that I didn't have. So the voltages may be a little bit skew-if because I can't measure the voltages on the capacitor, but this capacitor specifically measured around about, I think it was 5.2, and on the board is meant to be a 4.7, and it was an 0603 sized capacitor. I'm hoping the voltage rating is going to be okay. Nonetheless, all the components are now soldered back on and it's time for testing. I have nothing else to do other than actually plug this card in and see if it recognizes on a PC or whether it blows up, who knows. But we are about to find out. Please pray for me and wish me luck. Okay, because health is wealth and hasty is safety, I've obviously got something to put out fire if needs be, but hopefully that is not the case. This is my test rig. Here's the monitor. I'm just going to turn it on to show you that we get a display and everything works as it should. Right, we've got some LED action. That's cool. This is an older GPU that was sent to me by Bodger, so shout out Bodger. I don't have HDMI plugged in. Okay, HDMI now plugged in, and I don't actually get a display. And that LED light's gone off. I have changed out this power supply, so I'm not too sure if that is causing this, so I'm going to have to go for a reboot. Okay, just restarted automatic repair. Obviously something's going on with the SSD or something. Diagnosing. Brilliant. And it's just frozen on that screen. Oh, I think the SSD is done. Oh, here we go. I rebooted it once more and we're in. Cool. Now I'm going to turn it off and swap out the GPU. She's in. And she's big. She's so much bigger than the other one that I just had in there. Look, the size difference. Right, let's go. Power on. Power supply. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Nothing. Now I don't have the PSU power cable in the PCIe one yet because I wanted to see if motherboard done anything, but that's looking good. So now I'm just going to power off the PSU. We like that. Okay. So turns out I don't have the right power connector. I don't believe it because the RTX has this funny weird one, and the weird one looks like the 50 series one. Except for the fact this one has like an extra notch which doesn't actually plug in there, and I wouldn't plug it in anyway just in case. So I think I'm going to have to get some sort of proprietary power cable to go from here to here. So again, I think I have to put this video on pause. Unless, of course, I'm being very dumb, and there's always a chance that can happen. Alright, turns out I wasn't being an idiot, and I did in fact need this power cable. 12-pin GPU power cable. Okay, and she fits. HDMI is also plugged in. I need to turn on the power supply unit and see, hopefully, that this doesn't blow up. 3, 2, 1. Okay. I mean, that's good so far. Now I actually just need to turn it on. Okay. Sweet. Now remember, it was just no display last time. Well, when I say last time, when I purchased it. So fan spin. Oh! I didn't expect it. No. I'll be honest with you, I didn't expect it. And it's definitely plugged in to the GPU. There's nothing in the motherboard. Oh my gosh, look, the fans are going, both of them. I'm absolutely dumbfounded. I can't believe it. The resolution may look a little bit questionable, I think. I don't know. 1360 by 768. Wow. I've got Benchmate. I don't know what this is going to do. This is just on my PC for, I don't know why. I think people just told me to install it. I've got so many questions. I need to go over to display. Oh, is it just using the basic display adapter? That's probably because it doesn't have the display driver yet for the 3070, which is okay. I'm expecting that because I don't have the drivers for it. And I don't have NVIDIA control panel on here. So I'll probably download that very quickly. Here we go, 3070, English UK, find. Okay, there was literally a driver 2 days ago from when I'm recording this. 4 hours? What are you talking about? Well, that is, so far, an absolute result. I'm going to download the drivers because, as you can see clearly, it's going to take me a hot minute. And we'll go from there. But so far, we are looking so cushy. This has, I haven't actually told you, but it has been pasted and everything. So it's got nice thermal paste. I gave the pads a nice clean and I haven't changed them. So the thickness of them should be okay for all of the other chips. One thing I should mention here, I don't know why I'm still on the iPhone. I thought it would make a little bit of a difference. But one thing I should mention is that I should have tested the voltage rails and the resistances on, they call it packs, and some other rails on the graphics card before I tested it. But if I'm being like 100% honest and truthful, I was just a bit too excited to test because all it was in my head was just missing components. It looks like something happened on somebody's PC. They knocked that graphics card somehow or it came off and they pulled it and they just lost a bunch of components. So therefore, there wasn't actually a real fault with the card. It was just missing components. Therefore, I thought plugging it in would just be the best way to go. I'll be back in a second to confirm our outcome. Hopefully the drivers and everything else are okay. The driver actually went through. I did record it, but I had it on my face cam rather than showing this way. So it's absolutely pointless. Okay, here we go. The drivers are installing. But if I show you now and I go to device manager and display adapter, we can see NVIDIA RTX 3070. There's obviously a test that I need to do, which is, I believe, Fairmark. Oh, my pointing camera skills have been awful. This monitor is actually 1600 by 900, I think, so I can only run it and just click run, or HD plus, I guess, and run it and see what our temps are, etc. So let's do that. So it's spinning up, as we can see, nicely, and I'll just try and keep as much of this on the screen as I possibly can. Remember, the thermal paste has been reapplied, and also the thermal pads themselves have been cleaned off, so they should be giving us a good connection here. Good thing is I can feel the GPU getting hot, so I definitely know it's doing something. The GPU temp is coming up at 72 and the hotspot is 85, so we're looking at about a 12-degree difference at the moment. It's still ridiculously quiet, to be fair. It's not even that loud, the GPU. I think I'll leave it for about 5 minutes and just come back to you with the results of both the hotspot and the temp itself, and we'll go from there. So we've just come up to 4 minutes, but the temps aren't really changing, and I believe, well, I'm going to guess it's because the fans aren't even ramping up to 100% here. The GPU usage, sorry, is at 98%. I don't know if that's because of resolution and the test just isn't hardcore enough because of the resolution we have. But we're looking at a 12 to 13 degree difference in the temp and the hotspot. Don't know if that's good. You guys might have to let me know that information. I don't know what else I can do other than maybe replace the pads themselves, but again, everything seems okay. I would personally consider this GPU working, but again, I am not an expert, so any help would be appreciated. But I can call this successful. There's two last things I want to state. I mean, one of them is going to be to thank Gozzy in the Discord. Gozzy is a real valued member of the repair community, and without his help, I wouldn't have been able to resolve this GPU issue, even if it is just replacing a few components, or the video would have taken a very long time because I would have just waited to buy another faulty 3070 and just transferred those components across. All in all, it was about £3 for the chips, and that was, like I said, 100 of them, and the cable itself was £30. But good news being is that I've now got that cable to diagnose and hopefully fix much more 30 series cards going forward. The other thing is the Northwest Repair Discord channel for fixing GPUs. I wouldn't have been able to do it without the images that were on there. So again, I'll leave a link down below in the description for that Discord. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this one, hit the thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here, and as always, I shall see you in the next one. Peace.